Welcome to Buffalo Pregame, your source for live Buffalo football discussion, news, analysis, opinions, and more. Presented by ASM Publications and Bills Digest. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Buffalo Pregame. I'm your host, Alex Brasky, here for ASM Publications and Shout Magazine. On tonight's show, we dive into a preview of the Bills' Week 3 matchup with the Miami Dolphins. What are the top storylines, players to watch? Also, a score prediction for Sunday's game, and much, much more on this episode leading into this primetime matchup, just about 3 hours away from kickoff. And each week on Buffalo Pregame, I'll provide updates on the NFL, NHL, and more via daily articles, podcasts, videos, and more. Some Sabres coverage coming down the pike here with training camp opening up, but today, obviously, all focus placed on the Buffalo Bills. Please subscribe to Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, along with Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky on Substack, both of which are free of charge. Also, head on over to the YouTube app or wherever you're listening and hit that like button or give us a rating, and also subscribe and share to your friends as well. It would really mean the world to me. All right, let's get into it. It should be a beautiful night for football tonight at Highmark Stadium, the Thursday night football kickoff. Temperature is expected to be about 30 degrees, no wind, no precipitation. So beautiful conditions for the Bills and what should be the final visit from the Dolphins at the current Highmark Stadium. Not expecting them to turn things around and make a playoff appearance this year. And if they do lose this week, which we're all expecting them to, they would be the first team, I think, since 2018 or the second team. Let's just say this. There have not been many 0-3 teams that have advanced to postseason play in recent history. So if the Dolphins lose tonight, that likely thwarts their playoff chances. And there's a lot more on the line for Miami as well, which we'll get into a little bit later. But as I said, likely the last matchup between the Bills and Dolphins at Highmark Stadium. And that is, of course, barring a miraculous resurgence from this Miami team and really the defense, which I don't anticipate. And the defense for this Miami team has allowed 33 points in its first 2 games of the season. The offense has shown signs of life, really, most recently in week 2, but just not much to write home about with this Miami team. And if you're expecting them to pull themselves out of the doldrums, what signs tell you that this is the week that Miami figures it out? They can't beat the Bills. Buffalo has won 6 straight games over the Dolphins, 13 of the last 14. Sean McDermott is 15-2 against this team throughout his career. And that's not even mentioning all the stats that we talked about on Tuesday's show. The fact that Miami hasn't beaten the Bills since 2016 in Buffalo, and all of Josh Allen's incredible marks against the Dolphins. And that goes with the fact that he hasn't lost on Thursday Night Football throughout his career. He's 7-0. So if you're calling your shot and maybe betting the Dolphins money line in this game or predicting that the Dolphins are going to win, I don't know what could possibly lead you to that conclusion just based on what has transpired over the first 2 weeks of the season and really dating back to last year with the Dolphins in disarray, both in the front office, the coaching staff, the locker room, just everything going wrong for Miami. And if you think this is the week that Miami walks into Orchard Park and overcomes an 11.5-point spread, that's per FanDuel. I know other people have it at 12.5. You're just wishing on an absolute prayer. So I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take them with the points. I'll give my prediction at the end of this episode. But the Bills are 9-7-1 against the spread versus the Dolphins since Sean McDermott took over as head coach, and 3-4 since the start of the 2022 season. So against the spread, this matchup hasn't always gone the Bills' way, but this is a different Miami team. There was hope back then. Even entering last season, there was hope for this Dolphins team. But even Dolphins fans appear to be hate watching their team at this point, hoping their head coach and general manager are fired. And what a place that is to be at as a fan. And much of us can relate to that here in Buffalo, just years of incompetence dealing with so many changes at the helm, whether it be the quarterback position, the head coaching role, or the general manager. Just years of incompetence really ended with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane being welcomed into the fold. But Rex Ryan, Tom Donahoe come to mind as people who really had the pitchforks and torches out for Bills fans in the past. So I want to feel bad for Dolphins fans at this point, but at the same time, this is really a hard fan base to root for. Every base in the league is pretty obnoxious, and including the Bills for that matter. And I've played my part in that over the years. But dating back to probably my early years as a fan, as a child going to games, Miami just stands out as a fan base that I don't mind seeing lose on a regular basis, and seeing their spiral here over the past several weeks, like I said, dating back to last season, has been pretty exciting to watch from somebody's lens that views it that way. So I'm expecting it to continue this week. I don't expect the Dolphins are going to pick up the pieces in this game against the Bills. And like I said, it's getting late early for this Dolphins team, who will likely feature a heavy dose of running back Devon Achane in this game. He's really been one of the bright lights for this entire team over the course of the first 2 weeks of the season. And he's really been a bright light since he came to Miami. And Achane can really do it all. He's one of 6 active players with 25-plus touchdowns in their first 30 career games. That's per StatMuse. So if the Dolphins are going to win this game, obviously they're going to need an improved performance from Tua. They're going to need a reasonable performance from a banged-up defense. They're going to need Tyreek Hill to make some sort of impact on the outside, and Jalen Waddle also falls into that mix as he's expected to play per Cameron Wolf. But really what the Miami Dolphins need most is they need Achane to get going both in the running game, in the receiving game, and he's recorded 11 receptions for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns over the first 2 weeks of the season. 5 of his receptions have gone for first downs, and he has a long reception of 29 yards. So a big play opportunity every time the ball is in Achane's hands, and that's going to really test the Bills linebackers, nickel cornerback Taron Johnson, who's expected to be back for the Bills in this game. So I think focusing on Achane is one of the prime elements of the Bills game plan this week. I think that's an obvious statement to make, just with how he's impacted the game, not only this season, but dating back to matchups with the Bills. In 4 games against the Bills, all Miami losses, mind you, Achane has averaged 6 yards per carry on 52 attempts and scored 4 rushing touchdowns. He's also added 19 receptions and scored a couple of touchdowns receiving in those 4 games. So this is a player that's hurt the Bills in the past, and he's been one of the primary catalysts for this Dolphins offense, which has been up and down, admittedly, to start the season. And not only has he been successful in the passing game, where, like I said, he's 11 receptions, over 100 yards the first 2 weeks of the season. He's also been successful in the running game. In 2 games, he's carried the ball 18 times, 85 yards, an average of 4.7 yards per carry, including a long rush of 26 yards. And this Miami offensive line is banged up, and even if it was fully healthy, it would still be a questionable unit. So it's going to be interesting if the Bills' defensive line can really dominate things up front and get some push against what is expected to be a porous unit. But at the same time, with Achane, if he's given a sliver of daylight, he can really take it both in the receiving game and the rushing game. And they're giving him the ball quite often, and he's on the field regularly for this offense. In week 2, his usage rate was massive, playing 94% of the snaps, 73% of the team's rushing attempts in week 2, 31% of the targets, and he was on the field for the team's 2-minute offense. Those numbers per Dwayne McFarland on X. But that just goes to show you how important Devon Achane is to this Miami Dolphins offense, and the stats really speak for themselves against the Buffalo Bills in the past. And we have a quick comment here from Breaking Tables. Everyone, literally everyone in South Florida is saying LOL Fins are really bad and McDaniel is fired after tonight. And yeah, I wouldn't be shocked of that. I've written about that both on Buffalo Bills on SI and on my Substack, Buffalo Pregame with Alex Brasky. Be sure to check out all the coverage on both of those outlets. But yeah, I would not be shocked if this is kind of the walking papers moment for Mike McDaniel. I think Chris Greer might get maybe a few more weeks, get the interim head coach installed, and you don't want to rip off the Band-Aid too mumuch at once. But if this turns ugly, I'm the Dolphins here tonight, which very well could be the case. This could be I think I'm losing some connection here for my charger. I want to make sure I don't lose power. I'm not sure it's plugged in. One sec. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out the charger situation here, because I don't want to go down on everybody. Not that this is primetime coverage or anything, but test it out on X. See if everyone can still hear me. I don't think everybody comment if anybody can, if you can hear me here. Test it out. All right, I think I got everybody back, so we'll go as long as we can here. Some technical difficulties on the show, but as I said, Devon Achane has hurt the Bills considerably over the years. In 4 games against the Bills, he's really been one of the primary catalysts for this offense. So this is a player that can impact the game multiple ways and will be one of Bills defensive coordinator Bobby Babich and company's top focuses entering this game. So if you're the Bills, you need a big game from Taron Johnson, as I said, your linebackers as well, and Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams. And Williams, an experienced player, the team's leading tackler from a season ago, did a really nice job replacing Milano in his role last year. But this is his first time to start this year. So we'll see what Dorian Williams has to offer. And like I said, Taron Johnson likely to return. He told reporters this week that he'll be back. He did do that last week and didn't end up playing, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Buffalo's still a little bit banged up without Ed Oliver, but some good news on Matt Milano. He was not placed on injured reserve today. That had to be done by 4 p.m. on Thursday if he were to be out for the next 4 games. And you would expect that would be the case if the Bills had any long-term concern with Milano. So some good news on Milano, something pointing toward perhaps a quicker return than many imagined in his case. But you need those replacements, Dorian Williams, and also up front for Ed Oliver, TJ Sanders, and Deion Walker. You need them to do a good job in this game. And I'm going to predict that Deion Walker and or TJ Sanders record their first sack of the season tonight against the Dolphins. But despite the technical difficulties we're experiencing, and I hope that we can hang on here and not go down before I'm through with my spiel. But please like, share, and subscribe. Go over to YouTube, hit that like button. Also, hit that subscription button and share it with your friends as well. Just help spread the word here on Buffalo Pregame. But let's move up a little bit right along. We talked about Devon Achane's ability to create the big play. That needs to be a significant concentration for the Bills in this game, and it typically is, as the Bills are really one of the best defenses in the league when it comes to shutting down big plays from the opponent since Sean McDermott took over at the helm. But Miami has scored touchdowns of 11, 18, 29, and 17 yards through the first 2 weeks of the season. That was pointed out in Sal Capaccio's article on WGR 550, so a little bit of a hat tip to him. So this isn't a team that's going to grind the game down to a fine powder. They look for explosives from Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, who's a little banged up, but is expected to play per Cameron Wolf of NFL Network. This is not a group that you can let get into the open field and potentially turn those 5-10-yard plays into 20, 30-yard gains and potentially those long touchdowns, as I mentioned before. So a big test for Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp, who have been up and down to start the season. This is a big game for that duo. They've been inconsistent, a little rough performance against the Baltimore Ravens, but bounced back with a better game against the New York Jets. So I don't know how much of an indicator that is in terms of what to expect from this unit moving forward, just knowing how much the Jets are struggling and how much they struggled in that game, particularly through the passing game. But if Bishop and Rapp can help limit the big play, this could be an easy day for Buffalo's defense, as Miami is a finesse group. And really, if they can't get rolling early, they're a front-running group, let's be honest. And if they're not able to get up early and ride those big plays, it really could be a concern for this team in this game against the Buffalo Bills. But let's flip things over to the offensive side of the ball. Two starters in the secondary missing for Miami. Storm Duck and Ifiatu Malafanwu are out in this game. Rasul Douglas will get another start. And we all saw his talents were severely diminished last year. Had an okay game in week 2 and when he replaced Storm Duck in week 1, but we'll see what he has to offer against the Bills wide receivers. And Miami could also be without first-round pass rusher Chop Robinson. He had a sack last week. That's really Miami's strength defensively, up front, rushing the passer. And if they're to be without Robinson in this game, that would certainly hurt their prospects. I'm expecting this to be a big Ray Davis game. I think after Josh Allen gets going early, eats up this banged-up Miami secondary, the Bills will kind of turn things down and start handing it off to their running game. And James Cook, we all saw what he could do last week. But with Ray Davis maybe getting some more work in what I expect to be garbage time in this game, give me the over on 60 rushing yards for Ray Davis. I think he'll score a touchdown in this game as well. But in the passing game, I think the Bills are going to try to ignite Dalton Kincaid in this one. Maybe a big game for him early. Dolphins linebacker Tyrell Dodson, a former Buffalo Bill, has been pretty bad through 2 weeks, and I think Kincaid can really eat this team alive over the middle of the field this week. Dawson Knox, a couple of drops last week, and it's really time to get Kincaid, I think, going and feature him as the true tight end one he was expected to be in the passing game this year. And on another note, when it comes to the tight ends, rookie Jackson Hawes has been exactly what the Bills drafted him to be through 2 games. He not only has been an incredible blocker, but he's also caught a couple of passes, becoming a threat in that regard, which adds another dynamic element to when the Bills put 3 tight ends on the field. And they've been so good when they put 3 tight ends on the field this season. According to Cover One, the Bills are first in the league in success rate when utilizing 3 tight end sets. Hawes has probably been the main reason for that. Kincaid and Knox have been good in the blocking situations as well. Kincaid has added some quality receiving efforts, but Kincaid's upped his ability in the blocking game considerably this year. We've all seen the clips that have surfaced on social media. Everybody really lauding his effort. But when you take a look at what Jackson Hawes has brought to this team, and like I said, that added dynamic with the heavy sets, it's really helped the Bills take that element to a whole nother level. And we're going to cut this one short because, like I said, some technical difficulties. I'm not sure really what went on this episode, but we'll get it worked out for next time. Give me the Bills to win this game 35-17, a blowout. I think they'll cover the spread of 11.5 per FanDuel. Josh Allen over 200 passing yards. Perhaps I bit off a little bit more than I could chew last week, predicting over 300 yards, and that wasn't even close. But I think the score will also impact his number this week. I think things are going to get out of hand, and maybe they'll take the foot off the gas in this one. And I think, like I said, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson could be called upon for plenty of garbage time work in this one, as you see James Cook perhaps get some work, some much needed respite on the sideline as well. But this is a Miami team that might even be expecting itself to get blown out. We all heard Mike McDaniel's press conference earlier this week. Just not much going on for this team. And give me the Bills. Easy does it. An 18-point win. Take it to the bank. All right, that's going to do it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Like I said, a quick episode due to some technical difficulties. Thank you. For those of you who stuck with me through it, please head on over to the YouTube app, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll get ready for this game between the Bills and Dolphins. All right, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time.